Hello again. In this video, we're going to talk about muscle balance. Well, what is muscle balance? Most joints have a muscle either side of them responsible for moving them. And those muscles need a balance of strength and flexibility between them. For example, the front of the thigh, the quadricep, and the back of the thigh, the hamstring. They are both responsible for moving the knee joint, and they both sort of balance each other out. Now, when those muscles are equally strong and flexible and in balance with each other, effectively you can be pain-free and they are protective of the joint whilst you're using that joint because they hold that joint well. If that isn't the case, a muscle imbalance occurs. One of the muscles becomes tight and the other one becomes weak. This then puts an excess stress on the joint when you're going about your everyday activities. Now, there are two main causes of muscle imbalance. The first is biomechanical. Now, biomechanical means that a posture that's held repeatedly for too long. So, for example, one that's common in today's world is called the text neck. And that's where, because we're always looking at small screens, we tend to become more and more hunched over. And because we're holding this posture for longer and longer, our muscles, certain muscles become tight, like our pecs here in this case, and our upper back muscles become weak and overly stretched. So you end up naturally holding this posture and deriving pain from it. Now, the other way a biomechanical issue can occur is from repeating one movement continually or repetitively. And that would happen typically in somebody, for example, who's a factory worker. If they're continually performing one movement, there's going to be a development of strength in one muscle group, whereas another muscle group is not getting the same degree of work, so you create this imbalance in the system. Well, that's the first way muscular imbalances happen. The second way is the neuromuscular imbalance, as it were. And that's because certain muscles in our body are predisposed to being tight or weak. That's just sort of naturally how they are. So, for instance, the hamstrings are prone to being tonic or tight, whereas their opposing muscle group, the quadriceps on the front of the thigh, have a tendency to be weaker. The front of the hip, the muscles on the front of the hip, tend to be tight, whereas the muscles around the back, the gluteus maximus, on the hip, tend to be weak. Similarly, with the muscles around the core, the erector spinae, the muscles of the back, the muscles of the low back, they tend to be tight, whereas the abdominal muscles have a predisposition to weakness. Now, if you allow this to happen, this neuromuscular imbalance, you're going to again create a posture which isn't good for the joints, which is ultimately going to cause pain and physical dysfunction. How can the QuickHIT workouts you engage in help? Well, at QuickHIT, we structure our workouts and select biomechanically correct exercises that focused on a balanced strengthening of all of your major muscle groups. This is going to help both muscles on each side of a joint get equally strong and equally flexible. So you're creating this balance that protects the joint and creates a body that will naturally hold itself in a posturally sound way without you even having to think about it. And this impact will happen relatively quickly after you start. Usually within about 5, 6, 7 sessions, you'll naturally find yourself holding yourself better without having to consider it. Also, the specific way your QuickHIT instructor will teach you and continually give you feedback whilst you're performing the exercises is focused on maintaining an absolutely correct posture during those exercises, which also helps to reinforce the restoration of muscular balance and improvement of any postural deficits you may already have. Also, if you have a specific issue when you first start at QuickHIT, remember you can always talk about it with your trainer so that the training can be adapted to increase a beneficial impact on any muscular imbalances you have. But just know that QuickHIT focuses on correcting and improving postural deficits and improving your muscular balance.